Welcome back, or even welcome to the first episode of Nosebleed Podcast. My name is Chad. This is
Hayden.
so we have Hayden here today. And so, when it comes to being a fan, man, what made you a fan of the Baltimore Ravens?
Yeah, so I got to revert back to, when I was playing football.
Hmm.
So in middle school, it's like peak Ravens as far as competing with the Steelers. Steelers, having their championship runs. They were kind of in that dynasty talk, but I was always kind of rooting for the underdog, try to take them out and try to get that second Super Bowl win. So that's what I was just kind of watching over the years. And I remember when I was in, might have been I was my freshman year. That's when they won the second Super Bowl. So that was always good to see. And then from there, just hanging around, waiting to this point where they're like rebuilding to that championship tier. Because those years after the Super Bowl with Joe Flacco and nobody else, those tough years, man.
Okay. And
So
so, when it comes to, like, you said the Joe Flacco's and stuff like that, like that era, you know what I mean? I know you guys are in a new era when it comes to Lamar Jackson and stuff like that. I know you guys picked up some good players coming on along the way, like Derrick Henry. You lost a couple of your linebackers to that same Pittsburgh Steelers team now. And so, what is your how was your feelings on the offseason? Does that make any sense?
So I mean, it's part of the game, right? You're always gonna lose guys, but it's really about how well you build depth year over year. And you're like, when you're negotiating and all these contracts, these teams are looking years in advance,
Hmm.
really. They're not just worried about just necessarily this one season. But I think the Ravens have always kind of put themselves in good positions to address the needs that they need. That's probably the worst. I was saying, like, because I didn't really watch much before that when they didn't have a quarterback. And when you look in the past, in the Ravens, they just had a veteran over veteran, just like a bunch of random guys from like maybe a year or two. Um, and while their defense was the solid piece, they had the key anchor points to build around.
Hmm.
And then now, once Lamar just kind of came out of nowhere and he was that guy for us,
Hmm.
now it allowed us to kind of build around that. And that's where they're at right now, as far as just, it's really just like small aspects. So if you really had to nitpick going into this offseason, it was mainly receiver, O line, and maybe some pieces along the defense, but it's mainly like around the edge, I would say. And for the most part, we added, we retained, and then we also have some guys that just kind of like have been waiting to get their shot on the edge, more like the just like younger guys. So like I'm thinking of one guy from Michigan that we drafted last year, knowing he wasn't gonna play.
No, uh,
David,
Ojabo.
yeah,
There
Ojabo.
you go.
So
I wanted him. I think I wanted him.
yeah, so like looking forward to him playing Alway. Probably think
Adafe Owe.
yeah, like for him to get more. It's probably the first two key guys, and then we even drafted another guy from BYU. So I think they might even played together at some point.
BYU. Who was that?
I can't even tell you his last name, but we got him in the third round, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken.
This
But
this draft
mhm,
or okay.
yeah, similar build, just like a big athletic
Hmm.
guy. So I
And
mean,
then
we're
you
gonna
got
have guys in the rotation. What are you gonna say?
then you got Nate Wiggins.
Yeah, on the
And so
secondary. Yeah.
secondary wise, so do you feel? Because I know for a fact that like we have the old school names and stuff like that, right? We have the old school names. So give me a name of somebody who the team was built around before, like on the defensive side, and then allowed those dudes like the secondary guys like Nate Wiggins, not Nate Wiggins now, but like people back in the day, like what's it, McAllister, I think his name, cornerbacks and stuff like that,
Yeah.
to flourish. Because I know you guys had a great line back in the day.
Yeah, so I mean, what everybody wants to think about Ed Reed and Ray Lewis, but two other guys I would think played a big part was Haloti Ngata and Terrell Suggs.
Hmm.
Terrell Suggs was Defensive Player of the Year at some point, and he,
No,
yeah,
I mean like how many years did he win it? Like once?
I think he had it once. I think it was like 2011, so
Okay.
before the Super Bowl run. That was peak T Sizzle, and then Haloti Ngata was just that guy for his whole career. Really, he was just that anchor. Uh, physically and I guess like literally.
Literally,
Uh,
he was a big deal because I know like we have like for the Giants, right? We have Dexter Lawrence holding on the line to where we can allow like the Deontay Banks and Xavier McKinney, who's now with the Packers. We have like Jabril Peppers when he was with us, to where they can be able to do their job easier because they're just doing so much pressure on the front end. Because when you have like a D lineman in the middle of the field, like the Snacks Harrison, you have the Dexter Lawrence's, the Haloti Nadas, the Ndamukong Suhs, the Chris Jones, those names building up the middle of that defense, it makes it so much easier to where all your edge rushers can just now be free from double teams. Your secondary doesn't have to cover as long because you have someone in the middle fortifying it. Like Haloti Nada, like yes, Ed Reed and Ray Lewis are the big names that you think of, but to have someone like Haloti Nada in the middle really stop them from running the ball so they can actually play back a little bit on the pass and stuff like that. So Ray Lewis can be able to jump some routes. Ed Reed can be able to jump some routes because now that quarterback is now on a time clock. And so like he's on that timer now. He has to get the ball out. Yes,
Yeah.
from edge rushes, but straight down the middle is the scariest thing to see.
Yeah, and within like what 3 to 4 seconds, right?
Yeah,
3 seconds if you're lucky, I guess.
I
Like,
swear. Because Elodie Nada might be not the fastest person in the world, but the quickest way to a quarterback is straight down the middle.
yeah,
It's really straight down the middle. Like you can say, all right, edge rusher, yeah,
you
edge rusher
feel the
comes through.
pocket
It just
collapsing,
collapsed
right?
and it's like
Yeah,
you can break the pocket down from Elodie Nada from the middle, or even like Snacks Harrison, Dexter Lawrence and stuff like that from the middle. And now what are you looking into? You're looking into like coverage sacks to where like the quarterback just rolls right, rolls left, wrong. Now that edge rusher like that T sizzle, and y'all have another line. Y'all had another stud back in the day on the edge, but it wasn't Ellaby. It was who else? Y'all had who was there with T sizzle?
so we had Paul Kruger on our
There you
Super
go.
Bowl, but he was like that 1 year wonder
Yeah,
type
I
of guy.
remember him, but he
Yeah,
still was good
because
though.
we had a lot of guys like, you play great in the defense, but then you go bank somewhere else, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I was expecting. Like Patrick Queen, like this is his best season, but like, did we expect him to stay? No. Like we had Roquan. Like if we didn't get Roquan, maybe, but like if we didn't have Roquan Smith, like would have Queen done that well?
No,
So like, not to be like,
down in the Steelers,
yeah, but I'm
but
like, well, I mean, good luck because they've been trying to replace that middle linebacker for years. They've been drafting guys year over year, first round. No anchor really
like
for
Devin
them.
Devin Bush, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Devin Bush was because I remember back in that draft they had like Devin White and Devin Bush coming up the same year, if
hmm
I'm not mistaken.
yeah. That sounds
And
right.
Devin Bush had like the whole like he had the off the field issues that was going on first, and now they never really got to fill in that hole that they was looking for.
Yeah,
And Patrick Queen, like yeah, he's a good player. He's gonna be able to fill in that gap. I don't think he's gonna be one of those, to be completely real with you. And so you have like what Alexander Highsmith, I think is on his team,
yeah.
Queen, and then they picked up someone else from y'all, right?
No, I think it was just Geno Stone. He went to the Bengals, but
That's what it
there
was.
there might have been another guy that went to the Steelers that you say that might have been a rotational guy, but I can't. But I mean, yeah, when you look at the Steelers right now, it's like if I think they run a 3-4 technically,
The
but
Steelers.
like yeah, all four of their linebackers are pretty solid. But like I think Fitzpatrick's overrated. But always gonna play tough. Like they've always been competitive, but
Mm-hmm.
not too worried about the Steelers.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And so when it comes to like we're naming a lot of people who like play back in the day, right? Give me an offensive player and a defensive player that would like, dang, he did play for the Ravens.
So I was kind of mentioning you earlier. Like I was watching Football Life, and like you appreciate Steve Smith,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just kind of appreciating like his his Panther, most of his career, like pretty much how he was almost like he was talking about in his like his rookie year, he made it to the Pro Bowl,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the coaches were like, "Hey, like this is for the receivers. Like if you're a
Yeah.
returner, you're over there." And then John Harbaugh was actually the special teams Pro Bowl coach, and he connected with him back then, and
Mm-hmm.
then I guess that impact it still
It's still prevalent
made
because
a
he.
difference to where Steve Smith actually wanted to come to Baltimore at some point, and it made him feel like a second home in a sense, and appreciating like they even talked about when him and Joe Flacco were rehabbing an injury,
Mm-hmm.
like an ACL injury, that same season when I guess they first came over to Baltimore. Um, so that's like a big, like, even though it was like 2 years or so, but it was like a good 2 years of Steve Smith just being the only receiver for us and like dominating.
He
Yeah. So
did have a resurgence. Yeah, I know. I think I watched that 30 for 30 you're talking about, and him having that connection with John Harbaugh as a special teams coach. Like later on when he came to free agency, and then Carolina didn't want him anymore. Essentially, have that freedom to like, all right, cool, I can connect and go to a coach that I like. And I feel as if John Harbaugh has always been that type of coach, honestly, because he took what Odell under his wing. he's taking a lot of like whenever a veteran feel like their career is on that end,
Yeah,
he tends to bring them in like hey bro, you still got a home, and they end up succeeding or get
yeah,
another spot at least afterwards. Like Odell, if he had went to any other team other than the Ravens, I don't know if he's gonna get another stint at it. You know, it doesn't make any sense because
yeah.
you have like the Jaguars. Let's say if he went to the Jags, and the Jaguars have a down year, does Odell get the deal with Miami for as much as he did? Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. Not saying nothing against Trevor Lawrence not throwing the ball to him, but Trevor Lawrence is going into a contract year, so he might have a better season with like an Odell type now than he did last year. Does that make any sense?
Only argument is that Calvin Ridley did get a monster contract, even though he maybe had 4 good games.
Yes, he was my fantasy like breakout dude, honestly. But
Yeah, I was hoping for it too. I drafted him.
hey,
It was in my league.
shoot, I remember you told me about. Remember the Puka Nakua
Yeah,
story?
you're like Puka who?
This man told me. I tell you straight up. This man told me you should check out since you have Cooper Cup on your lineup and he's hurt. You should check out this guy named Puka Nakua. I was like, who is
Yeah.
Puka
He was
Nakua?
like, nah, man.
Like, I'm okay
I
on it.
got Mike Thomas. I got Addison. I'm good.
I'm good. Yes, exactly. And he's like, bro, he should be. You showing me this highlight tape, so this like it's blurry too, of this kid. Like he's supposed to be the next Cooper Cup. I'm like, yo, it's
I don't see it, bro.
I don't see it. I was like, okay. And then the next game he goes off. I was like, oh my goodness. And then he's gone on the waiver wire. So I'm like, you know what? Hayden knows something that I don't know. So I'm gonna listen to this man if he speaks on fantasy. So before I get to that question later on, uh, two trivia questions. So you gave me an offense, right? You gave
Yeah.
me Steve Smith. Who was on defense?
All right. I mean, one comes to mind. Probably not a good take, but Bernard Pollard,
Safety.
safety.
Yeah. He played for the
Hey,
Browns, I think, one point.
he moved around. I think he was on. I think he was around Tech. Nah, not Texans.
I think he was on Texans. I think he was on Texans. You're right.
He, yeah, he. I think he still played a few years after that. But I say him, um, just because like hard hitting. It's
Mm-hmm.
like probably one guy that I liked. Ahead of Bo. I'm thinking all that Super Bowl run. But if I'm thinking before that, was it Peter Bolware?
Peter Bower.
That's another
That's a
name.
unique name. That was a
Yeah,
linebacker, right?
yeah.
That was a linebacker.
I like, yeah, I mean, but most of the time, like most of that, like 2008 and like 2012, that like upcoming, like that was probably like peak of me just like enjoying the Ravens a lot. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, nowadays, like, um, this past 2 seasons have been pretty good. But yeah, I'm trying to think way back. I'm thinking a bust came to mind. Matt Elam.
He was a bust.
He was a bust. Matt Elam,
He was good in Madden.
bro. He had like one. I think his rookie season was okay, but other than
What pick was he? What draft pick
that,
was
he
he?
was a
Safety.
first round safety.
He was
I think his brother's better. I think he's on the Bills, if I'm not mistaken,
probably.
like a nickel corner.
Hmm.
But yeah, he was terrible. Uh,
So
that
that
Rashad Perriman, bro.
was a bust. Wide
That
receiver.
yeah,
Y'all drafted? Hold
yeah,
on.
and he made some plays like for
Oh yeah, y'all did. I
it was
thought
like
I
the
was thinking Kevin White. I'm
I
sorry.
think it was like the not the Bengals.
The
He
Bears.
he went somewhere else and he was actually making some
Oh, the
touchdowns.
Buccaneers.
Buccaneers, that's what
He
I was
was on the
saying.
Buccaneers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he caught some. Yeah, I don't know, but that was a crazy. Yeah, I don't know.
because I think he blew up more because his combine numbers like Kevin
Yeah,
White
he
and
was
all those.
athletic. Yeah, that's exactly who it reminded me of. Like Kevin White is just like vertical can go up and get it, but he always like caught with his like body.
Body and
I
then
didn't have like hands.
he you got like Kevin White, Bashar Perriman, John Ross, those like combine warriors that end up like not being so great in the NFL because of either injuries, which is I think Bashar it was either Kevin White or Bashar Perriman. I think it's Kevin
Yeah,
White
Kevin White was
who was just
lingered
super
with
injured
injuries. Yeah.
like every time he went on the field.
But
Honestly,
every time in the off season when we see he signed with somebody, I'm like, maybe it's the year. Maybe like I'm probably always gonna lean towards like optimism when like when these guys like they don't come out in the draft and they probably don't go to the right team off
yeah,
the bat. But like you said, like even talking about like veterans, like they just need to find that right system, right, and just the right opportunity. Um, so I'm always gonna think like that.
okay. And
So
so we have the season coming up, right? You have this one of the games dropped today. That was
That's the game.
Ravens and Chiefs first game.
We knew it was gonna happen.
What's the score?
Score in Kansas City on a Thursday night.
Mm-hmm. Don't worry, I'm gonna ask Derek the same question.
Try to think of like an odd, but I think it's like a 2 point difference.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was. Yeah, I'll probably come down to like 2 points, and somebody's gonna like come down to the very last play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was no kneeling. It's probably gonna like
It's
the
gonna be
very last
the
play.
very last play.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I don't think it's gonna go past 30 points on each team. So
Mm-hmm.
like, if we had to pick a total, it'd probably be like high 40s. So
Total.
yeah, total,
I was like,
total.
ain't
So
no way
like,
y'all scoring 40 points on it.
yeah,
You know what? I'm gonna come back to this episode, and if y'all score 40 points on them, bro, I got at least a 200 push-ups on me because that's crazy.
yeah,
Especially on Steve Spagnuolo, that's
yeah.
crazy.
No, and that's the biggest thing. Like, because people want to talk about Mahomes,
Mm.
Kelsey. Nobody talks about Andy Reid. Nobody talks
Steve
about
Spagnuolo,
Spagnola.
Spags,
You gotta give them the credit. Like,
yeah,
they're the dynasty builders.
they are. And
Um,
so when it comes to like coaches and stuff like that, right? You have like the John Harbaugh special teams. You have what? Who's the defense coordinator?
right now,
Yeah,
Zach Ware.
I bet.
Yeah.
Who's the offensive coordinator?
Marty. Oh, I was gonna say Marty Schottenheimer. What
I
the
was gonna
fuck?
say Marty.
Todd Monken.
There you go, Todd Monken. So you know your
I
coaches.
was thinking, what? Who the hell's Marty Schottenheimer? Where the
I
fuck
think he's
is
a
he?
play for y'all. I think he's a. I think he's a not play for y'all. I think
Schottenheimer.
he's a coach for y'all one time.
He's he's a OC somewhere, I think.
He used to be in Chicago. If
I
I'm,
don't
if
know.
I'm
Why
not
the hell I'm
mistaken.
thinking that name?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But you got you got three those three right there, right? And the thing is like Zach Orr, former player, because he's replacing McDonald, right?
Yeah.
You replacing McDonald, which had like one of the best defenses last year.
Yeah.
And you have Tom Monken from Georgia, who had one of the best off. Well, he won a championship with Georgia, and so going into year two of Tom Monken's system, and going in with Derrick Henry, obviously,
Mm.
and then going into year one with Zach Orr, coming from Mike McDonald's biggest biggest year. So give me on the offensive side and on the defensive side, two players you feel like is gonna like like all right, cool. They're gonna stand out the most on the offense side, on defense side with these two coaches
Yeah. So
specifically.
I would say the first things first. I'm glad that they promoted from within.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Zach Orr was already a linebackers coach last year, so it's not like somebody coming in and like fresh system, like fresh defense and like, oh, I'm gonna change this and that. We're, we're just gonna build on what we already had, right?
Yeah.
Maybe just tweak some things, right? And then it's crazy to think that over the years that we've had great defenses, that McDonald set historic records for the franchise and the NFL, like leading in all these statistics and like dominating essentially. Um, People overlook that. Like, some of the teams that we did dominate were like top teams, like going into like middle of the season.
Yeah.
But as far as players, two defensive players I'm thinking of right now. Kyle Hamilton probably didn't get enough recognition, but I think he's just going to put more of a stamp
More
on
on the
that.
map. So that you got what's the number? What's his number?
14.
I bet.
Okay.
Who's the number? Who's the next one?
So it's more like my comeback player of the year. So I want Marlon Humphrey to have a great year. He
What number?
missed a lot of games. 44
I bet.
cornerback. So
Yeah.
I'm looking for him to have a good year. Cornerbacks over the years sometimes that's been our downfall, like lack of depth. But I think we're at a good point right now as long as we stay healthy.
Yeah.
And we just added to it. Like, we added two young guys that are probably going to make a good difference. Like, even
Oh,
Wiggins,
Nate
and
Wiggins,
then
and then
Tampa. His last name's Tampa. Came from like Temple or something.
I know you're talking about. It's not TJ Tampa, is it?
Yeah,
It's damn.
yeah.
I'm a
So
nerd with it then.
yeah, so they're saying how a lot of the guys we drafted, they're like, we're surprised he fell. Like, he fell
Yeah.
for this and that, and it wasn't like off the field issues, just little things, I guess, or just people's draft boards played out different. But yeah, it was always good to hear something like that, and then just imagine like how he's going to contribute to like special teams and maybe like some of those packages that we do that where he can just kind of float or roam
Right.
potentially. But yeah, I'm looking for those two guys probably, and then maybe one of those guys we were talking about, like David Ajabo, or someone like that, someone young on the front to, maybe get double-digit sacks.
Really explode on the line and stuff like that. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
because Van Noy, he might not be the sack guy, but he's
He's part.
yeah, I still appreciate his better impressions and maybe help those guys get to where they need to be, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then on offense, looking for Keaton Mitchell to be
Running
in
back.
running back, explosive guy.
Wasn't he a really good pickup last year, but he got hurt at the
Yeah,
first?
I
Okay.
think he was undrafted,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not mistaken,
Okay.
and came out of nowhere, small school. But he just kind of has some lingering like leg injuries. He's kind of a smaller guy, but like he's like too fast for the field. I don't know
Yeah.
if you saw some of those like.
Oh, I know Keaton Mitchell. I tried to pick him up in fantasy, but in that league we in, he they don't last.
Oh no, I think I picked him up
He
because
picked
I
him
was
up.
waiting because I messed up and dropped Gus Edwards for some reason because I thought Justice Hill was gonna. Yeah, so I do mess up. But
Yeah.
anyways, Keaton Mitchell, even though everybody's talking about Derrick Henry and I think he's gonna have a great season, Keaton Mitchell's only gonna benefit from it. I think,
Yeah.
um, just helping him out. And then yeah, I'm looking for Zay Flowers to take that next step. That's probably a given, but I really want to see Bateman uh, at least put up like 1,000 yards,
Mm-hmm.
maybe like 10 touchdowns.
Okay.
I'm just looking for him to have a great year. This is,
Okay.
this is going into his final year of
Yeah.
contract, so I think there's like really no excuses anymore on like why he shouldn't have a great year. He's going to be slotted in as the number 2 guy. I don't
Mm-hmm.
see them picking up anybody to take that away from him. Um, so I'm looking for Bateman and Mitchell to pretty much be
Take that
heavy
there.
contributors. Yeah, we know
Okay.
Zay, we know Likely, we know Andrews, we know Henry. They're all going to do their thing. But
I,
yeah, those 2 guys.
I forgot about Mark Andrews, and so when it comes to Keaton Mitchell, that's a good name too. So Keaton Mitchell getting into that smash and dash type of thing. So when it comes to like if you think of any comparison, I'll probably say just from recency bias or even team bias, I'll probably look at like Brandon Jacobs and Ahmad Bradshaw
Yeah,
type of thing to where like you just have someone who just comes in, just wears the team out, and then Keaton Mitchell just sneaks behind, almost like how Tajay Sharp started coming up
yeah,
from him, and just comes in and just puts in the work when it comes to like just outrunning people because they're just so fatigued out. And so that's a good way of like building a team, especially with Lamar as a running quarterback. It's like that running game might be the best in the league. And then I looked at a stat not too long ago with you guys. You said Bateman. You guys are like 28th, I think, on payroll when it comes to wide receivers.
yeah, and it shows,
And
right?
it shows exactly you got what Bateman, Zay Flowers on a rookie contract, and then you have who?
After that,
Yeah.
Aguilar, and then a bunch of young guys.
Ah, there you go, Aguilar. There you
Yeah,
go. And
so
so
I mean, if we're gonna, you gotta put money towards the defense, gotta put money towards the O line, gotta put money towards the quarterback. We got Mark Andrews, you know,
and
those
plus
people,
that's a good receiving threat. And so you
yeah.
guys can run probably more two tight end looks and stuff like
And
that.
and that was the thing that was probably underutilized because Monken coming into it, Georgia supposedly ran a lot of 2 tight end sets and they ran the ball a lot. So yeah, I only look forward to that because Lamar got this MVP in the first year in that offense. Why wouldn't it be at least some steps forward? It doesn't have to be MVP again, but why wouldn't he excel even further in the offense, right? With everybody healthy. But
Mhm.
that's probably one other area is like we probably want to see Likely contribute more often, not just when Andrews is out, right? So I'm looking forward to that for sure.
Okay. And so a little bit of like a little not trivia, but a little bit get to know Hayden. So why the Raven on the hand?
Hey man, so there's cheap tattoos, and you don't know how tattoos are gonna.
What's the story behind that?
Hey man, it's Friday the 13th, and I'm like looking at all the stencils or what you want to call them. I was like, is that a raven? I was like, oh yeah. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, can you like black it out and you put like a little purple on? Yeah,
Yeah, you
cool.
got purple in it.
Yeah, on the beat.
That is purple, Lord. This man
Yeah,
is
but people
this
think
man is a real Raven fan because I ain't got no giant tattoos. That's
people think it's like a birthmark or something. That's how bad it looks, man. But hey, man, I'm gonna get it covered up. You're gonna get it
what you gonna put on there?
I'll just get realistic. Just
A realistic
yeah,
Raven
just
is
kind
going
of
to be cover the whole hand like
yeah,
out the
yeah,
beater.
yeah. It's just
That's
all that.
crazy.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I don't know.
You gonna look at all right. Anyway,
So,
and
it's
then
gonna be a full sleep, man. Don't worry. It's gonna look like that, man.
no, it won't.
Yeah, man. Look, you got space for a little NY right there, bro.
I'm gonna put an NY
Yeah,
there
right there.
somewhere. Probably not an elbow, hell
Just,
no. But when it comes to fantasy, right? A lot of people move. We have like Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley. We have like this team just shifted a lot this offseason. Give me one player who is gonna break up with their new team that you feel like. Just give me one top pick. Quick.
I haven't even thought about fantasy yet, bro.
I know you haven't. That's why I asked you now.
And I think Hollywood with Mahomes might be interesting.
Ooh, I forgot about that one. That's a good one.
You got what's some other moves? I mean, Saquon
In Philly, you
I don't know.
got
We still don't know about Philly though. Like, what's gonna be different? Like,
because they were on a struggle bus when it comes to the last like 4 or 5 games
it's
of
like
the
the
season.
vibe. The vibes are off.
All right, I got.
Well, you didn't even name who you got for the fantasy.
Fantasy?
Yeah, who's the breakout? Calvin Ridley.
You know, I can always pick Calvin Ridley, bro. That's always like my guess, but it's gonna actually be Trevor Lawrence.
Well, you played with the new team. You're just saying.
Oh, new team. Oh yeah, new team.
Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, like you would.
New team. I like the Hollywood Brown pick. Philly, Saquon, Josh Jacobs. I don't feel like he's gonna do it. I feel like
Josh Jacobs is kind of a.
It's a sneaker pick, but I think honestly, if I could pick one person who's gonna be like, all right, cool. If you have him on your team, he might get some yards out of it. I'd probably say Gardner Minshew for Vegas. Weird pick.
Yeah.
Because Gardner gonna put up some points with Devontae Adams on his team.
Yeah,
and
people.
Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, I like Gardner. Like going into the Colts. I mean, obviously, didn't expect him to start, right?
Yeah.
But he's always been solid, no matter where he's at. And it's kind of like similar, like a Baker.
Yeah,
kind of.
He reminds me of so much of Baker. It's crazy.
Maybe a little different. I think Baker might be a better like thrower, but I think Minshew has some like
better decision making.
Yeah, like intangibles, like
he does
kind of like the Brett Favre, Mahomes-esque type of deal.
And so when it comes to this is your trivia for today. What number is? Let me see. A tough one for Hayden. What number is Roquan?
0.
All right, that's not a tough one. What number is?
When you asked me who was number
12?
Yeah,
Malik Cunningham.
Yeah, I was like, who the hell?
Exactly.
That's
a tough one. That's a tough one. But what number is Nate Wiggins? The rookie numbers came out already.
I know. I'm trying to think of his motherfucker holding up his jersey. Ain't no way he's number 1 or some shit. Is he single digit?
He's not a corner number.
Single digit?
Single digits.
Motherfucker. Ain't number 4.
Lower.
It's lower. 2.
It's number 2.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think.
He's number 2, some weird number. But thank you, Hayden, for today, man. It's a great conversation. Great conversation.